Hey, it is Elisa. Happy Tuesday. So I wanted to pop in and go live and just do an impromptu session, give you some information about my upcoming spring cleanse. So I've been getting some questions and I figured this would be a good way to answer them. But if you still have a question, by all means, please reach out. You can either comment below or send me a private message and I'll definitely get back to you. So one of the biggest questions is, and I can definitely understand this, is do I have to starve myself? So is a cleanse about starving myself? And like, I really want to feel better, but I don't want to starve myself. So if that sounds like you're in luck because there are lots of different cleanses and detoxes out there that you might see, that you might have heard of. There are some where you can buy a ready-made pack of food, and this is all you're going to eat during that time frame. And that is not at all how my spring cleanse is. So the spring cleanse is really a guided cleanse. And what we do is, or what I do is share with you some options. So again, it's not at all about starving yourself. You can focus on several different things during the cleanse. So one of the first and most obvious things is, of course, your nutrition. And I definitely, recommend that you start where you are. So if you're, currently eating a lot of, processed foods and not a lot of vegetables, that might be the place to start, is adding in more whole foods, more vegetables and fruits. But if you're already doing that, then you might choose something a little different, maybe doing a mono diet, which is something like kitchery, which is a recipe that I can share with you. Or you might even, look at, the timing and the spacing of your meals, or, other things that you're doing. Another big option for the cleanse is really thinking about your self-care. So making sure you're giving yourself that time to really take care of yourself. And that might even include a digital detox. So spending less time on devices, less time in front of screens. And those are all things we discuss. So in the very first session, we go over options, you get a workbook, and I guide you in finding the version of the cleanse that works best for you. So another question that I've gotten is, what if I'm traveling during the dates of the cleanse? So the actual dates of the cleanse, as far as the calls, will be April 13th, so next Thursday, through May 4th. Now, you may or may not do your cleanse exactly in those dates. If you'd like, you can adjust the dates to fit your life. So you might even go through the first week with me where, we set up and design the cleanse, and then maybe wait till the following Monday or the following week. So it doesn't have to be set in stone that those are the only dates. But again, if you want to do those dates and maybe you have something where you're traveling or you have a wedding or another event, I have worked with people who have actually taken food to their event so that they can, adjust what they're eating, or they adjust the times that they're eating so that you might have your meals or things that you're looking for maybe before the event starts. Now, another thing to do is just give yourself a little bit of grace. Look at what possibly they're having and how you can work it into what you want to do for your cleanse. So that's something that we can discuss individual to you, because everybody's situation is a little different. So don't feel like, if the dates don't match up magically, or if you've got something that you can't do the cleanse, you can still do the cleanse and just adjust it to fit your life. Excuse me. So then the next question is, well, then how are the 21 days organized? So I kind of hinted at this a moment ago, or I mentioned it. The very first session that we get together, I'll guide you in designing your cleanse, and we'll ease into it. So that first week, or your first week, is an ease in time to the cleanse. So it's not like you're starving yourself or only drinking spicy lemonade, which is an option, but not necessarily the right option for everybody. But you don't have to think about, okay, I'm only, I'm very strict. I can not have any food for 21 days. No, the first week is easing in. So starting where you are, making small adjustments, and starting to feel good about, what you're doing, or experimenting with what you're doing with your cleanse. Week 2 is actually the deepest part of the cleanse. And again, you may find that your deepest version is different from somebody else's, and that's 100% okay. It's not about doing the same thing as somebody else or comparing yourself to somebody else. It's about resetting your digestion and giving your body and mind an opportunity to reset. And then week 3, we come back out. So it's kind of like, a curve. So you ease in, or maybe we'll ease in and go up, and then we come down and we ease out. So we want to be gentle in, gentle out. The next question I've seen is, what if I'm already eating a clean diet? Do I need a cleanse? And the answer is probably. So most of us could really use that opportunity to reset. And I will tell you, I eat a very, very clean diet, but I still do a cleanse every fall and spring. And it's amazing how I feel. And there are times that I don't actually even want to come out of the cleanse, but it's a nice opportunity. And again, your cleanse might be more about self-care. It might be more about slowing down or spending less time in front of your computer. It might be spending more time in nature. But for most of us, even if we're eating a very clean diet, there are still things that we could do to give our digestion a reset. And those are the things we'll look at. Another question, and this is an interesting one that we haven't even started yet, but the question is, what if I mess up? What if I give into temptation and eat something that I know I shouldn't? Or maybe I'm afraid I'm going to, so I don't want to set myself up for failure, so don't even want to try. The answer to that is, you know what? We're all human. I'm human too. And, I don't eat a perfectly clean diet. And, when you're on a cleanse, I've had friends and clients who said, oh no, we went out to eat and I tried to fight temptation, but I had a burger and a beer. And now what do? Do I just give up? And the answer is kind of like anything. No, you dust yourself off, you give yourself a little bit of grace, and you keep going. So the goal isn't to have the burger and the beer or eat pizza or whatever it is. But if you do slip and, have a misstep in your cleanse, it's not the end of the world. We'll pick it up where you are and just keep going, and allowing yourself that grace to know that you don't have to be 100% perfect. One of the things I share when I coach my clients is go for a B-. Now, when you're doing a cleanse, maybe you want to go for a B+, but the idea is still, do not beat yourself up. And, what happens a lot of times in life is we mess up and then we figure, oh, well, I messed up. So I'll just, like further down. So rather than dusting yourself off and, moving forward, actually going backward. So if you make a mistake, it's not the end of the world. We'll deal with it and, just pick up. And you don't have to start the 21 days over, although some people, might choose to do that, but it's just about, moving forward. And really, when we think about giving ourselves a reset, part of that is forgiveness and compassion for ourselves. So, just go from there. Another question is about taking vitamins, minerals, or other supplements or medications. Now, if you're taking medication, by all means, if it's something that's prescribed and you need to take it. Vitamins and minerals, you might want to experiment and give yourself that same refresh and wait until after the 21 days to take them. But if you're noticing a difference and you need them, or your doctor has told you that you need something like calcium or iron or something like that, then again, make sure to take those. But sometimes it can be a really nice reset and a refresh for the liver when we're not taking all those supplements. Here's a big one. Can I still drink my coffee or tea? And one thing that I like to share, and I think is an important thing to think about, the cleanse is really about adding in. So it's about adding in the good things. So I definitely recommend you drink more water, especially room temperature or warm water. But if you tell yourself, you can't have the coffee, and you know that this is something that you feel like you need, then it might be a hurdle that keeps you from doing it. So maybe what you would do in that instance is have a cup of water first and then have your coffee. But if you feel like you're not allowed to have your coffee, and again, it's not about restricting or taking anything out, it's about putting the good things in and then allowing the things that maybe you're trying to set aside for a few days, let them, set off to the side. So again, not saying no to the coffee or tea, but inviting more opportunities for water and things like that. And then if you still want your cup of coffee, you can do it. But again, there's no hard and fast rules about what you can or can't. So like, we're going to put those little air quotes there, but it's really thinking about what would be the best choice in this moment. So I hope that helps as far as that question goes. Now, I just mentioned warm water, and this one is a big one. And this was one that was a sticking point for me when I first learned about Ayurveda and drinking warm water instead of cold. I was a huge fan of ice cold water, 365 days a year. It didn't matter how cold it was. But unfortunately, cold water actually dampens our digestion. And so one of our big goals with the cleanse is simplifying our digestion and giving it a break and actually allowing it to, do what it's supposed to do so we can feel better. So you don't want to put that cold water on your digestion and, make it harder for your body. So that's why we do either warm water or room temperature water. And again, that was a tricky one for me, but I learned to actually embrace that. So now, like if I go out to dinner and they offer me ice cold water, now I want, the warm. And if you do go out to dinner, here's a tip, and they give you ice cold water because they want to put that ice in there for you. You can either, of course, let it sit there for a few minutes, or when you're drinking it, just allow it an extra, couple of seconds in your mouth to warm up a tiny bit. But yeah, if you can, try and get away from the cold water. It's not the best thing for digestion. What should I do if I want a snack? So snacking, of course, we want to try and create spaces between our meals. So snacking isn't always the best thing. But if you want to snack, there are different options that I'll give you within the cleanse. And then what if you don't have a lot of time, to prepare your food? So I give you options for recipes and things that you might want to make to prepare for your food, but there's also options to make it easier and ideas of how to make preparing your food more simplified throughout the cleanse. So I hope this answers any questions you might have. And really the big thing is, until you try the spring cleanse, you might not realize how much your body needs a reset and how much your body's going to benefit. But again, you won't know that until you try the spring cleanse. But make sure if you do have any other questions, reach out, send me a direct message. And then I'm probably going to do another live with other questions that I've gotten or other things that have come up. So if you send me a question, I'll answer it, but then again, I'll share it in a live for other people as well. So I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I will talk to you soon. I hope to see you inside the spring cleanse.